Millionaire reveals secrets on how he gained his millions and why so many people are bad with money.
Why are so many people bad with money, myself included?
Well, I think when you look at the popular culture around money, you turn on the TV, you look at the news, it seems impossibly complicated. And there's a reason for that, because Wall Street makes it very complicated. Wall Street is filled with genuinely complex investment products. Classically, it's filled with some things that the people who created it don't quite understand how it works. So that's the bad news. So when people say, wow, this is really complex, they're absolutely right, it is. The good news is you can sweep all of that off and onto the floor because you don't need any of it. And what you do need, what will make you wealthy over time, is the soul of simplicity. But that's not a message you're ever going to get on TV or in the papers, because there's no money to be made in putting that message out there.
Or on the internet. The internet is filled with people that speak very confidently, with all caps in their captions. And there's really bold music, and there's complex ideas and complex graphs. And when I look at you in this book, you just wrote one book when there's so many courses you could have sold. There's so many sub-books you could have written about how to become rich. And my question, JL, is why aren't you a grifter? There's a great grift to get in on. And why just do one little book like this?
You know, it's my mother's fault.
Really?
Yeah, she instilled a conscience in me. I've cursed her for that ever since. I'd be so much wealthier if she hadn't given me a conscience. But she did. So here we are.
When I knew you were for real is in 2018, you gave a Google talk at Google. And a Google employee asked you about investing in Google. Let's take a look.
What are your thoughts on holding the Google shares, since we're all extremely invested in the success of Google?
Well, that's a politically loaded question. Somehow I think I should say, hold Google. But that's actually not my opinion.
What was your opinion? And what is your opinion?
So my opinion, I can't remember exactly how I said it, but what I said to those people, and it's still my opinion today, is that you never want to hold a large portion of your wealth in any one company. And Google's a great company, and it's still doing great today as far as I know. But all companies have a life cycle. And at some point, Google, as all companies do, will fade. It might happen sooner or later. But my classic example of that is Sears. You know, Sears for 100 years was Amazon and Walmart combined. Sears was the company that said, hey, you know, there are all these people out in rural America who can't get to stores, but we could mail them catalogs. And then they could send us back orders and we could just mail the stuff to them, right? Well, what's that? That's Amazon. That's exactly what Amazon does. You know, and we're going to have these brick and mortar stores.
Yeah, and that was
that's
the
Walmart.
Sears catalog, for those of you that don't know.
Right.
Sears would print out the internet and staple it together.
Right. And it was like this thick.
Yeah, and it was filled with products.
There's actually a big lesson to learn here, because I didn't know about Sears at all. Let me know in the comment section down below if you knew about this. But this is why, even in my spare time, I consume content like this, because there's so much to learn. Just when you think you know it, you realize you don't know. There's so much more to know. So Sears, they were pretty much the Amazon of the days, which today, Amazon, industry giant, it seems like they're not going anywhere. And they ended up vanishing. How much money, or how many retail investors ended up losing their money? Only God knows.
And then they would staple that and mail it to you.
Yeah.
And then you would circle what parts of the internet you wanted and mail it back to them. Then they would mail you those goods and services.
It was the print. And even they would do houses. They had prefab houses they sold at one point.
Wow.
So, and they dominated for 100 years. In 1973, they built what was then the tallest building in the world in Chicago. Sears Tower, right? Yeah. That was, by the way, the beginning of the end. Now, you'd be hard-pressed to find a Sears store open. In 1973, if you'd said that, well, it was 20, 30 years later, Sears would be gone, people would have laughed at you.
That's a sin, yeah.
But if you've been up in front of a bunch of Sears employees and they asked you, gee, should I have all my net worth in Sears stock? You'd have been pretty controversial saying, no, that's probably not a great idea.
When I watched that clip, I was like, bootleg John Goodman is either a genius or he's the most genuinely sincere person on planet Earth, and I got to go all in. So I bought the book. I was like, all right.
Yeah. You know, I have to share with our audience, so that's not entirely true.
What's that?
I mean, you bought the book,
sure,
but that you went all in at that point.
No.
Because when you and I got to know each other a little bit, and we started, because I was very intrigued that you were following my work, we had some conversations, and we probably talked for 2 different times for at least 4 hours, and you grilled me.
Yes.
And I could tell the nature of the questions were, you know, are you for real? Let me ask it another way. Are you for real? And I guess I passed the test because here we are. We've become friends.
Yeah, this is becoming more psychological, JL, because really, and my staff thinks this as well. I have an amazing team here, but they oftentimes ask me, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
What happened here? And really what you're looking at, JL, is a broken toy. Someone who wasn't loved or hugged enough and wasn't given proper information. Now, as a trauma response to that, I found humor and the gift of gab and at times lying as a
Okay, so now let's get into living within your means, because that's when basically we're going through all of the highlights what people love the most. So
let me have a little bit of discretionary spending to go on vacation with Bay, buy an iced coffee or 2, maybe take my kid to Disneyland.
Right.
Why can't I just spend all of it? And why do I need to, for what? I save an extra $1,800 to put it into some index fund. Why can't I just let me live today?
Live your life, basically.
Well, first of all, you can. And that's what most people do. In fact, tragically, in my view, some people go into debt to do even more of that. All I'm saying is that there is another option. There is another thing you can do with your money.
What if there's stuff that I want or need?
Well, but that's the whole point, is you have to decide what are the things you want and need that are most important to you.
Okay, I want a Pokemon original Charizard card that is authentic. Right. That wasn't the fake one that Logan Paul bought during the pandemic, the real one. And it is a original Pokemon certified.
You have no idea how far out of my wheelhouse you're going, but go ahead.
But this is a big deal. You have no idea how real this is.
Clearly, I have no idea.
Yeah, and I want that.
Right.
And that's going to cost me quite a bit of money, but I want it.
Okay.
And it might be more than what I've earned.
Okay.
I'm already breaking rule number 1.
Well,
if I spend the money to buy the Charizard.
Again, these are not the 10 Commandments down off Mount Sinai. This is the simple path to wealth, and only you can decide whether that's where you want to go. If you want to buy a Pokemon card, whatever.
It's not whatever.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm missing the critical importance of this. But you can buy whatever you want with your money. It's your money. I would never presume to tell you or anybody else what to do with your money. The only person I ever presumed to tell that was my daughter, right?
Okay.
But what I am telling people is there is another option. What I think is tragic is if you get to the end of your life and you have spent all of your money on things that are now gone and faded and haven't provided wealth for you, and you're broke because you didn't know there was another option, that's tragic. And if I can let you know that there's another option, there is another thing of value that you could spend your money on. You don't have to do that. You might, in fact, most people, let's be honest, who listen to us today are not going to do this. Yep. That's why people who follow the simple path to wealth and become financially independent, we're unicorns. And we will always be unicorns. It's a rare path to walk. But at least you will know that at the end of your life, that's something you could have chosen. Just like I know I could have bought a Porsche at some point. I've chosen not to for a variety of reasons. But it's not like I didn't know Porsches existed, right?
You know, what you just said was a little elitist, JL.
Well, I'm a pretty elitist guy. You haven't met my mother.
Well, no, but I mean, what you basically said is, hey, I'm going to put you onto the game. I'm going to tell you the rules of how it all works. And I bet you're not even going to follow it.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
I don't see how that's elitist. I think that's the way it is. I am under no illusions that in this FI community
financial independent
community, right? Or FIRE, which is financial independence, retire early.
Financial independence, retire early, which is, by the way, that is the wave. People are talking about this like,
so that's the interesting thing. And it is, when I first started writing about this stuff back in 2011, it was not the wave, and it certainly has become the wave. But one of the questions that I get a lot in this community, because new people who discover it and for whom it resonates, they get really excited, and they can't. It's like religion almost. They can't believe that if there was anybody out there who was exposed to this truth, that they wouldn't immediately embrace it. Well, I've been around long enough to know that that's not the case. It's not the case with religion. And it's also not the case with the simple path to wealth, right? So I'm under no illusions. I don't think, unlike a lot of people, particularly newbies in the space, who think the whole world's going to go this way. I get questions like, well, JL, what if everybody retires early and nobody's working? What's going to happen to the economy?
That's not going to happen, boy.
No, that might be a problem, but you know what? It's never going to happen.
The underlying principle of this, the ability to work for who you want to work for, is this idea of fuck you money.
Right.
What is financial independence and what is fuck you money?
Okay, I understand this is my definition.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people, it's the same thing. It's just different terms for the same concept. For me, financial independence is when you have enough money that it throws off enough money to cover all of your expenses, all of your living costs, and then some, a little bit of a cushion. FU money is what you acquire slowly but surely over time as you take those steps to get to full FI, where you're financially independent. FU money is important because you might not be able to quit your job forever at a certain stage, but if you have enough fuck you money, you can quit your job and take a sabbatical for a while you look at other options. Maybe you were working at a company that you liked and for a boss for whom you respected, and then you got another boss and not so much. Well, now you've got the wherewithal and the economic power to step away.
Got it. So fuck you is a cushion.
So hold on. So just as a take, so he's basically saying if I'm getting it right, we just need to focus on having enough money where the money is now producing enough money to cover all of your expenses, basically. And then FU money is just the next level beyond that, where you can quit and not work until you're dead, essentially. That's basically what I'm getting.
Fuck you, I don't got to deal with this shit.
Right.
I have a little bit of a cushion.
Right. It's just like going to the gym, right? You get stronger and stronger. And that's not just for going to the gym, but that makes you more resilient in the real world. You know, if you're walking down and you slip on ice and fall down, well, if you're physically strong, you're less likely to get hurt. The more physically strong you are, the less likely you are to get hurt, right? But every little bit helps.
Do you have fuck you money now and full financial independence?
Yes, and have for a long time.
How much money do you have right now?
Enough.
What number?
Bro, this is the best podcast I've ever watched, man. Wow. Okay.
With commas in it.
It got a bunch of replays as well.
For you is enough.
So my mother once said to me, never tell anybody how much you make or how much you have, because there's only two possible reactions. If they more than you and have more than you, like you do, then they don't care. If they have less, they're going to be envious. So,
wow,
I have enough.
Fair play,
and
good answer.
By the way, I should make a comment about that. It's not FU money and financial independence is not a set number. It's a different number for everybody. So I've known people who've made millions of dollars a year, and they will never be financially independent because they have constructed lifestyles that cost every bit of that.
Nice.
And they broke rule number one. They spend more than they earn.
Right. I mean,
damn near.
Mike Tyson made something on the order, one of the all-time great boxers, an incredible athlete, made something like $400 million. And it just bled through his fingers because he didn't know how to handle it. He was surrounded by sharks taking bits and pieces out of it. Tragic story. But so Mike Tyson, and I think he's recovered quite a bit, in fairness.
Yeah, he is.
But when he lost, it wasn't because he wasn't making enough money. The same token, I've known people who've never made more than $50,000 a year who have achieved it. You know, I have another book called Pathfinders, which is 100 stories of people who have found the simple path to wealth, read it, and have implemented it from all around the world.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about that book is some of the stories in there are from people who started from incredibly humble beginnings. I mean, there's a guy in there who was a migrant fruit picker when he started. When he was writing his story for us, he was worth $500,000. There was a woman in there who said, you know, when I was a kid growing up, the rich people, they were the ones who had flush toilets, right? So I love those stories because there's a pushback in this country that, and you touched on it a little bit earlier when you were talking about making, say, $46,000 a year. There's a pushback that says, oh, you know what? That sounds great, but that's only for people with really big incomes. That's only for tech people and that kind of stuff. And that's not my experience. When I did the first Chautauqua, which were these events I put together back in 2012.
Yeah. Chautauqua was basically like, it's like a camp / cult gathering of people that are like you, that like and have pursued the simple path to wealth. And so they come and they hang out together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I haven't been to one of these, but I imagine it's just a bunch of views.
Well, no, and that's kind of the point I was getting to.
Oh.
So when I was putting the first one together in 2012, it never even crossed my mind who would come. Right. There was this trope out there about, you know, this was only for tech engineers kind of thing. And I was kind of vaguely aware of that. I was just hoping somebody would come.
Yeah.
You know, we said we were going to have 30 people and that would be, and we'd take them somewhere cool for a week. And we sold it out. But when I went to the first one, one of the most stunning things to me, and candidly one of the most gratifying and absolutely the most unexpected, was the incredible diversity of people who showed up. When I say diversity, and you're only talking about 30 people, by the way, every possible measure, age, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation.
So hold on. So now let's get to the most replayed part, okay? Where they're talking about what is, okay.
State or hitting a beach. Booking.com helps us find the blackout curtains. Check. End of place.
So this is an ad.
And into invest.
Sure.
Let's say hypothetically, I have $3,200 to my name, and I don't want to pay Ice Cube to sing me Happy Birthday on Cameo. What should I do with that $3,200 that I have saved up? Let's start the journey.
Well, starting there, clearly you have no priorities. But if truly you don't want to hire Ice Cube, then the next best thing is it goes into VTSAX.
What is VTSAX?
It is Vanguard's total stock market index fund.
Okay.
It means that you now own a piece of every publicly traded company in the United States. And everybody in those companies, from the factory floor to the CEO, is now working to make you richer. It's a broad-based, every company, low cost, because it's an index fund, investment. And that's all you need. You don't need all that complex stuff that Wall Street loves to talk about.
Okay, but I have a boyfriend or I have a girlfriend and they're telling me I should get a financial advisor. I have a cousin that makes a lot of money on Wall Street and they're saying I need to go to Morgan Stanley. What do I tell those people?
You tell them that you're investing in the simple path to wealth, which is low cost, broad-based index funds.
Okay, so I open up my laptop.
Right.
I go to Vanguard.com.
Or Fidelity.
Okay. And then I just buy.
Right.
I transfer money over in my bank and I just buy that index fund.
Right.
VTSAX.
Absolutely.
And that's how many companies? It's like 3,600 companies.
About 36. It varies, but it's virtually every publicly traded company in the country.
Okay.
And it's about 3,600.
Now, why are index funds so popular?
Well, first of all, they've become more and more popular. And I don't know that they're so popular. They're not dominant in the market. But because this is something that Jack Bogle created in 1975, that's when he started Vanguard. And he created the first index fund that retail investors, little people like us, could actually buy. And the idea was that the research had indicated then, and it's been confirmed over the 50 years since, that active management, which is paying someone to try to pick the stocks that are going to outperform out of those 3,600, typically doesn't work, and especially doesn't work over the long term. So the research says active managers in a given year.
Okay, so basically, if you've got $3,000 or pounds, then your best bet is investing in the stock market, in an index fund that is basically a basket of companies, publicly traded companies that are crushing it. The companies can get traded in and out, so they can fall off and then, a new one is added. But however, your money is secure because whenever a new one drops off, old one drops off or anything, you don't lose money in that. So your money is essentially protected. A lot of people use it for wealth preservation. Let's see the other spike.
Feels like that particular horse is going to win the whole thing.
Right. I don't even remember why.
Okay.
Right. But nevertheless, that's the horse she put her $2 on. I figure, okay, this is going to be her first lesson in reality. So we're down at the wire. We're at the fence. We're watching the horses come around into the final stretch. And guess what? Old Paint or whatever it was comes from the back, up in the outside, and wins.
Sick.
And she is beyond excited.
Amazing.
She's jumping up and down. And when she settles down just a little bit, she turns to me and she says, "Why didn't you tell me to put my whole $20 on that horse?" I said, "Jane, because I didn't know it was going to win. If I'd known it was going to win, I'd have mortgaged the house." You don't know which horse is going to win. But I do know that VTSAX will reliably make me wealthy. And 12% a year compounded over time, 8% a year. Let's be much more conservative. Compounded over time is an extraordinarily powerful thing.
What about, all jokes aside, the reason why I put up Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, Amazon, NVIDIA is a gut feeling. What about that gut feeling? Technology is something of the future. So why not kind of spread it across just the tech sector? Why hold it over 3,600 companies when tech is kind of carrying the majority of it anyways?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So an index fund today, like VTSAX, it's always cap weighted. And that simply means that the larger the company, the greater percentage of the fund it represents. Yeah. So right now, as you point out, tech companies have done great. And so it is heavily loaded with those companies. And one of the criticisms is that, it's really just a tech fund now because the performance from VTSAX has been, over the last, I don't know how many years, has just been because of these magnificent seven. That's absolutely true, but that's a feature, not a bug. Because one of the few advantages of being an old guy like me is that I can remember it wasn't always tech companies at the top. I can remember when it was financial companies. I can remember when it was energy companies. I can remember a time when it was consumer staples. Because that top sector rotates. I have no idea how long tech is going to dominate. Just like I don't know how long Google is going to be a powerful company. But what I do, and I don't have to worry about it because if and when it rotates out, I will own whatever comes up to replace it. Because that's the beauty of an index fund. It's a process that I call self-cleansing. It applies to the individual companies. So when Sears fell on hard times and rotated out, I didn't have to worry about it because I already owned the Amazon and the Walmart and what have you that were coming up to replace it.
Self-cleansing means as the poor performing companies fall out of the top 3,600.
Exactly.
And then the top companies now emerge. Right. So you're always holding the leaders of the pack.
And here's the rigged part of the game.
I explained it.
If you have a stock that fades like Sears, what's the worst that can happen? Absolute worst is lose everything, 100%.
Yeah.
As Amazon comes up, what's the best that can happen? Can it go up 100%? Yeah. 200? Yeah. 300? 1,000? 10,000%?
Or as we see with NVIDIA, 26,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's and then you own those regardless. But the problem is you don't know which of those companies is gonna do that because you don't have that crystal ball we talked about earlier. But now, you don't have to know, because if you own the index, you'll own them.
Well, there's two problems here, which is, number one, I don't have the crystal ball. Nobody does. But number two is I also, because of my internet addiction, I have the memory of an earthworm. But I do see a lot of news stories every day before I kiss my spouse. Right. And one of the things that I've been heavy in both my group chat and the news, is crypto. Bitcoin has had a 82% year over year for the past 10 years. We know what's going on with the US Federal Reserve in the United States. Why not start allocating some serious capital into Bitcoin?
You can do, tiny bit.
So
that's what he's going to say, I think.
It depends on whether you're a speculator or an investor.
Well, in this case, I want to consider myself to be an investor, and I'm asking you, is Bitcoin a good investment?
No, it's a speculation.
JL, mean, I love you, man, but you're going to get lit up on the internet. You need to not say this.
Well, I'm sorry, but you asked me the question. I can only give you the answer I have. So let me explain to you what I mean, right?
This is interesting. Is this a spike? Oh, it's not even a spike. Goodness me, man. So Bitcoin is a speculation. He clarifies more there. So let's hear what he says, and then let's jump to that. So
Bitcoin, as I said earlier, if you bought Bitcoin 10, 15 years ago, you've done magnificently well. I mean, who wouldn't want that? I wish I'd done that. I didn't, and still haven't, right? But that's not the question. The question is, where does it go from here? It's at 100,000 or somewhere around.
Right now, we're talking at 100,000. And when I was talking to Du Bois in the group chat, it was at 13,000.
Yeah.
And look at me.
Yeah, but that was then. This is now. So where does it go from now?
Well, now I'm getting made fun of, JL, and that's what you're not understanding. And I live with regret, and they're roasting me. And they have laser eyes and like, you dumbass.
Yeah.
You're out here podcasting and doing ad reads when you could have gone all in on Bitcoin and 10x'd it.
Yeah, I think you've confused me with your psychiatrist. I can't help you with the fact you're being made fun of. All I can tell you is that when you look at Bitcoin, it's a speculation. So it's not a currency. It's way too volatile to be a currency. A currency requires stability. That's why inflation is such a bad thing, and deflation for that matter. If you can't rely on a currency having a fairly consistent value, it doesn't work as a medium of exchange for goods and services. And maybe crypto will get there at some point, but right now it's not.
Okay.
All right. So let me finish the thought.
Sure.
So it's a speculation in the sense that, like buying gold, like buying exotic cars, collector cars or artwork or anything like that, when you buy crypto, you are saying, I am hoping and expecting that somebody at some point in the future will pay me more for this than I paid for it.
Essentially, somebody has to lose money in order for you to make money. That's what crypto is. So somebody can be left holding the bag. Yeah, I get what he... In fact, let me know in the comment section down below. Do you agree with this? So far, this is fire content, man. Hassan, God bless you. Wow. Let's like the video as well. Let's carry on. We're almost there.
In the case of Bitcoin, that's been a pretty good bet, although it's been a very wild ride. Anybody who's actually tracked it, you had to endure some pretty dramatic drawdowns at various points. But nevertheless, that has worked out. Not all speculations work out, just like your list of companies up there, right? They don't all work out. You don't have a crystal ball. You don't know where it's going. That's a speculation. An investment, something like VTSAX, which is in all those publicly traded companies, those companies are all filled with people actively working to produce and provide products and services for people who want them. And if they do it well, they will make money doing that. And as part owners of those companies, we benefit from that. They are creating wealth. They're not relying on somebody saying, yeah, someday in the future, maybe somebody will pay me a little bit more for General Motors. What they're saying is General Motors, if they operate the company well, will continue to make products that people want to buy, and they will continue to build value and make profits doing that, and that will cause the stock price to go up. And if they don't do that, then they fade away and they're replaced by Toyota or Tesla or whoever.
How would you feel if you found out that you've been having the fake...
listens to a lot of podcasts. He does. Means
I've met
he has to be smart. And you've met him.
Yeah.
He sent you an article recently that the S&P 500 could be its own bubble. Check this out. I mean, this is pretty recent. Bank of America says growth stocks are in a bubble exceeding the .com and Nifty 50 eras and warns they could take the S&P 500 down 40%. What should I say when he sends me and you articles like this that, hey, the S&P 500, VTSAX, that could be a bubble and that could crash?
So the first thing you should say to him is, have you read The Simple Path to Wealth? Because if you had, you will understand that that is crashes like that are a perfectly normal part of the process. They are to be expected, right? Since I've been investing, and it's been 50 years, God help me, but there have been 3 of them that have gone down more than 50%.
What are the 3 that happened?
So the 3, there was 1974, which is actually the year before I started, but it bled over into 75. There was a tech crash in 2000, 2002, and there was the debacle in 08, 09. The tech crash went down, I think, 46% and 56% in 08, 09, right? And of course, everybody thought the damn world was ending, and it didn't. But if you're going to invest in stocks for the long term, you never know when those things are going to happen. We thought they were going to happen in COVID. Some people think they're going to happen triggered by the tariffs. It didn't happen with COVID. Who knows about the tariffs? But you're never going to know for sure when they're going to happen or how long they're going to last. You have to tie yourself to the mast and use the opportunity while you have it to acquire shares at bargain prices. You know, Warren Buffett said one time that every now and again there's going to be really dark clouds out there, and it's going to begin raining gold, and you want to be out there filling your buckets, because that's the opportunity to buy at the best possible prices. But the thing is, we don't know exactly when that's going to happen or where those prices are.
Really, what I'm hearing from my friends, even though they've read the book, there is an underlying fear of the present moment. You don't get it. This time it's different.org. Right now, Donald Trump is president. He may become president for a 3rd term. World War III may pop off. AI is going to take over. We're going to have an even greater depression, the greatest depression of depressions, the greatest depression of all time. And that's why I need to maybe consider not putting my money into VTSAX or investing at all. What do you say to those people that say, this time it's different? Right now, there's no scarier time to be alive than right now.
So let's take a real life, very recent example of that, right?
Okay.
COVID.
Yes.
All right. Just a few years ago, my social media, my blog was lit up when COVID hit.
Yes, of course.
And they were saying pretty much what you just said. They were saying, JL, I've read The Simple Path to Wealth. I accept it. I buy it 100%. But truly, JL, this time is different.
It is different.
This time is, people are dying.
Airborne virus, killing old people.
Yeah, people are dying, right? Yeah. And not only that, but countries are shutting down their economies completely. This time, surely it is different.
Right.
And what I said then, and I say now, is that yes and no. This time is different, because anything that triggers a crash is by definition different. It's especially tragic that people were dying, but it's not different in what the market is going to do. The market is going to react, it's going to panic, it's going to crash, and sometimes this takes, well, in case of COVID, it took a matter of weeks, but more often it takes months or sometimes even years. It turns around and it continues to set record highs. You can look at any chart of the market's performance over 100 years. You can see this. You can see it in the Great Depression. So the trigger is always different, but the pattern is always the same. Now, the next question is going to be, well, JL, what if one day it's not?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me finish.
Sure.
Let's suppose that, COVID killed 1 million people in the U.S. Tragic number, but there are 330 million people in the country. Very small percentage. But let's suppose COVID had been much worse. Let's suppose COVID had been like the Black Death in the Middle Ages. let's suppose COVID has killed 50 or 60% of the population worldwide.
Oh my God. I mean, that would be crazy.
That would be a civilization-ending event.
Correct.
And absolutely, at that point, the simple path of wealth no longer works, but neither does anything else. It's not going to matter at that point where your money is. Our problems will be so much beyond where we are invested. So you have to look at it and you say, do I structure my investment portfolio, or try to, against that Armageddon kind of event, or do I structure it for the 99% chance that it's not going to happen?
Okay.
Ooh.
In 1963, I was 13 years old. It was the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yes.
As far as we know, the closest we've ever come to a nuclear war, civilization-ending event. You know, the U.S. and the Soviet Union start throwing nukes at each other, it's game over. Nothing financial is going to work at this point. At the time, as young as I was, there were two commentators on TV, and the one guy was saying, you know, this really looks like it's going to happen, and I'm getting out of the damn market. It's going to be terrible. And the other guy said, you know what? I don't know, but I'm buying. And the reason I'm buying is because prices are down, and if they start throwing the nukes, if that happens, then it doesn't matter.
Got it.
If they don't, the market's going to recover and go to great heights.
What's interesting is that I've felt that before too. Let's talk about that guy, the guy who goes, I'm buying the dip.
Yeah.
So what if I just time my life that way? Oh, it's down, let me dive in.
Yeah.
Then when it's up and sky high, I'm out, I'll sell.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
and then let it dip again. So almost play double dutch.
Time in the
Oh,
market.
wow, what a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? So here's the problem. How far is down?
I know when it says it's crashed. Dozens of percentage points on the news.
Yeah, but when does it turn around? How high is up?
How far is up?
Right. I mean, the problem is you don't know that. So let's look at COVID again, right? So COVID starts dropping, and it crashed pretty quickly, and it dropped, as I recall, like 33% in a matter of days or a week anyway, right? Nobody, including me, saw that it was going to immediately turn around.
Yeah.
But so if you were planning on doing what you were just describing, and you're watching that dip in COVID, do you pull the trigger at 30%? Or do you say, no, it's going to go lower? And if you wait too long, then you miss it, and it goes back up, and you miss the ride.
In 2023,
yes,
you wrote a blog post called "Why Your House is a Terrible Investment," and then you hit publish. Half the internet turned on
crazy.
You. Two questions. Number one, why do people get so worked up about this issue? And number two, why is my house a terrible investment?
So actually, I wrote that post originally in 2015, and the team updated it in 2023, I guess. But your house is a terrible investment because it's basically is not an investment, right? You shouldn't think of your house as an investment. Sometimes it works out, it goes up in value, but it's a place to live. It's a lifestyle choice, right? So you need to separate in your mind what an investment is and what a house is. So, you know, when you invest in a house, you're taking on enormous expenses. You've got your mortgage, which everybody thinks of, and they say, oh, you know, I can buy this house and the mortgage is no more than my rent. And they're forgetting conveniently about, well, there's real estate taxes, right? And then there's all the maintenance and repairs on it. And you're going to buy the house and not remodel the kitchen? You're never going to remodel the kitchen in your apartment, but you know, very few people buy a house and don't start immediately changing it. You're going to buy furniture for it. You're going to buy appliances for it. It's never ending. And all that's fine. You know, monies can be used for a lot of things. I've owned houses most of my adult life. I'm not saying don't own a house. I'm saying don't confuse yourself thinking it's an investment. Your house and my house are both actively trying to return to dust in the earth, right? And we have to spend copious amounts of time and money preventing that from happening.
But what about I'm building equity? Why should I give that money to a bank? And what about the idea that, what are you telling millennials to do? Just own nothing? Millennials and Zoomers should own nothing and let BlackRock have all that money?
Oh, I'm not saying you should own nothing. I'm saying you should own assets. You should own VTSAX. You know, my daughter...
You really believe you're telling everybody on the internet right now that's my age or younger, VTSAX and rent?
Yes. And that's what I tell my daughter, and that's what she's doing. She's in her early 30s. She just quit her corporate job last fall. I don't know if that's permanent or if it's just a temporary hiatus, but she at least has fuck you money the way we defined it earlier, that she can make that kind of bold decision, because she didn't make any silly decisions like buying a house and becoming house poor and being dependent on a paycheck to pay for all of those
I agree
things.
with all of
so yeah,
that.
building wealth is your key goal. Then no, owning a house is not going to contribute to that. If, on the other hand, you want to own a house because it'll provide a certain lifestyle that you find desirable, maybe a yard for your kids or whatever, then that's great. That's a lifestyle decision. It's not a financial decision. Don't confuse yourself.
I want to close this out with a very simple.
Wow, that was, in fact, I didn't even intend on this video being as long as it is, but that was such amazing content. If you don't sit down, if you feel like you don't have enough time to consume content like this, then I'm sorry. Maybe there isn't much hope for you. But I'm telling you, it's content like this that rewires your mind. Reading The Richest Man in Babylon. Books, and even his book, which I haven't read yet, which we're going to go through the comment section. I believe these are things that will change your mind. I genuinely do believe that a house is not an investment. I believe it's more of a liability. Oh, it might go up in value. It might. No problem. If you're going to buy a house, and I'm not saying it's a sin to buy a house. If you're going to buy a house, for me, I feel like you should be able to, at least, if the worst happened, pay off that house completely in full. So I feel like if you've got more than enough money to buy that house, as in cash, then you're able to. You can get a mortgage. I get it. Some people, they feel like they'll never have enough money to buy a house cash. So why don't I, and all of this? I just value freedom more. I just value the ability. That's just for me. The ability to be able to pick myself up and travel to a complete different country, restart again without having the feeling of worrying that, oh, I've got a mortgage in the UK that I still need to pay off, or I've got a mortgage in the US that still, you get what I mean? Pardon me. Out of nowhere, literally. But that's just my personal take on it. So in fact, I want to hear from you. Let me know, what do you think in the comment section down below? Is a mortgage a good or a bad thing? Is a house a liability or not? I do believe houses can be assets when they're bought for renting reasons, basically bought as an investment. But the house that you live in, for me, is very close and similar to the same thing where, a car that you buy to drive, and other people often they call that an investment. That's not an investment. It's a liability. It's costing you money. Same with a house. It's making you money until it's not, until the boiler, until the roof, until all the repair, the maintenance that goes wrong with it, the new kitchens and all of this, like he was describing. So I feel like for true financial freedom, you should know the answer. Like the video. I was going to go through the comment section, but I don't want to make this video super long, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. God bless.